The market was loud. Aliens from many worlds were shouting, selling metal parts, weapons, and food. In the middle of the market, under the hot sun, a young girl was chained to a metal pole. Her name was Leora. Her silver eyes looked tired. Her thin arms had bruises where the iron chains held her. People passed by and stared, some laughing, some ignoring her. The merchant who owned her was a fat alien with red skin and small eyes. He was drinking blue juice and smiling. "She is for sale," the merchant shouted. "Cheap price. She can sing, she can clean, she can heal with her touch." Leora looked down. She did not want to sing. She did not want to heal these cruel people. She only wanted to be free. One day, a stranger came to the market. He wore a dark hood and walked slowly, watching everything. His boots were dusty, and he had a scar on his jaw. He was from Earth, but no one knew him here. The stranger stopped in front of Leora. She looked up, and their eyes met. The world felt quiet for a moment. "Please," Leora whispered, so soft that only he could hear. "Claim me, or I will suffer here forever." The merchant laughed. "You claim her? You don't have the coins, human." The stranger said nothing. He looked at Leora's eyes, seeing her pain and her strength. He saw the small glow under her skin, near her collarbone. It was a soft blue light, hidden from others, but he saw it. "What is your name?" The stranger asked quietly. "Leora," she said, her lips trembling. "Why do you want me to claim you?" He asked, "Because if you don't, they will take me back inside," she said, tears in her eyes. "They will hurt me again." The merchant pulled the chains, making Leora fall to the ground. She cried out in pain. The crowd laughed. "See? She is weak," the merchant said. "She can't even stand without help." The stranger's hands turned into fists. He hated how they laughed at her pain. Leora looked up at him again. "Please," she whispered. "I can help you. I am not normal." The merchant shook the chains again, but at that moment, something strange happened. The chains began to glow, the same blue light that was under Leora's skin. The ground started to shake, and people around them stepped back in fear. "What is this?" The merchant shouted, pulling the chains again. Leora screamed, but her scream was not weak anymore. It was loud, strong, and filled with power. The chains glowed brighter, and a cracking sound filled the air. Crack! The chains broke into pieces, falling around Leora like dead snakes. The light under her skin was brighter now, shining through her clothes. Her silver eyes were glowing, and her hair moved as if touched by the wind. The crowd was silent. The merchant fell back, afraid. Leora stood up slowly. She was shaking, but she was free. She looked at the stranger with tears in her eyes. I didn't mean to," she said, her voice soft but clear. The stranger stepped forward and took her hand. It was warm, and she felt safe for the first time in many years. "It's okay," he said. "You are free now." Guards began to shout in the distance. The merchant screamed, "Stop them! She is mine! She is dangerous!" People started running in fear as the guards with electric spears ran toward them. Leora looked at the stranger. "Scared? Are you going to leave me?" she asked, her voice shaking. The stranger shook his head. "No, Leora, I will not leave you." He pulled her close, and together, they began to run through the crowded market. Leora's feet were bare, and the ground was hot, but she did not care. She was not chained anymore. She was free, at least for now. Behind them, the guards were shouting, pushing people aside, and trying to catch them. Leora and the stranger turned into a narrow alley, hiding behind old metal crates. Leora was breathing hard, her eyes still glowing softly. "Why did you help me?" she asked. The stranger looked at her, his eyes serious. "Because I believe you were not meant to be chained." They heard footsteps coming closer. Leora held her breath, looking at the stranger. "They will find us," she whispered. The stranger smiled slightly. Then we will keep running. Outside, the guards were searching, shouting, and calling for backup. Inside the dark alley, Leora and the stranger looked at each other, both knowing their lives had changed forever. And in that moment, the chains that hurt her were gone, but the fight for her freedom had just begun. Asterisk. The smell of smoke was in the air as Leora and the stranger hid in the dark alley. The ground was still warm under Leora's bare feet. She pressed her back against the cold metal wall, trying to calm her breath. Outside, guards were shouting, searching the market for them. She went this way. Find the girl, the merchant wants her back. Leora closed her eyes. She could still feel the heavy weight of the chains on her wrists, even though they were gone now. She touched the soft glow under her skin, feeling it pulsing like a small heart. The stranger looked around the corner, checking if the guards were near. He turned back to Leora, his dark eyes calm. Can you run? He asked softly. Leora nodded, though her legs were weak. Yes, I can. They moved quietly through the narrow paths between buildings, stepping over trash and old metal parts. The market was noisy again, but now there was fear in the air. As they moved, Leora whispered, "What is your name?" The stranger paused for a second before answering. "Call me Ray." Ray, she repeated softly. It felt safe to say his name. They reached the edge of the market, where old ships were parked in the dust. Broken wings, burnt engines, and scrap parts were everywhere. It was a graveyard for ships, and it was quiet. Ray looked at Leora. "They will keep hunting you," he said. "Why did your chains break like that?" Leora looked down, touching the glow near her collarbone. "I don't know how to explain it," she said, "but I was born with this. My mother told me to hide it. But when I am scared or angry, it comes out." Ray studied her for a moment. "They want it, don't they?" Leora nodded. "Yes, the merchants found out. They used to lock me in dark rooms and make me heal their wounds. If I refused, they hurt me. I couldn't control it." Ray placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're free now, Leora." Tears came to her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. "Thank you," she whispered. Suddenly, a loud voice came from behind them. "Stop!" They turned to see 3 guards with electric spears pointing at them. Ray grabbed Leora's hand. "Run!" They ran between the old ships as the guards chased them. Sparks flew as the guards fired their weapons, hitting metal walls and leaving burn marks. Leora's feet were bleeding, but she did not stop. She felt something inside her, a small voice saying, "Run. Don't give up." Ray pulled her behind a large broken engine, and they hid, breathing hard. The guards walked closer, scanning the area with bright lights. Leora looked at Ray, scared. "They will find us." Ray took a deep breath and nodded. "When I say run, run to that old ship," he whispered, pointing to a small cargo ship with a broken wing, but an open door. Leora nodded, her heart beating fast. The guards came closer, their lights shining near them. Ray stood up and shouted, "Hey!" The guards turned, aiming their weapons at him. Ray threw a small metal piece in the air, and it exploded with a loud bang and a flash of light. "Run, Leora!" Ray shouted. Leora ran as fast as she could, her feet burning with pain. She jumped. Inside the cargo ship, hiding behind the seats. Ray followed, closing the door behind him. The guards were shouting outside, banging on the ship's door. Ray ran to the controls, pressing buttons. The engine coughed, then roared to life. "Hold on." Ray shouted. Leora held the seat tightly as the ship shook and lifted off the ground. Dust flying everywhere. The guards fell back, shouting and firing at the ship, but it was too late. They flew into the sky, leaving the market, the merchants, and the chains behind. Leora looked out of the small window, tears running down her face. For the first time, she saw the sky without bars, without chains. Ray looked back at her, breathing hard. "Are you okay?" he asked. Leora nodded slowly, wiping her tears. Yes, thank you. Ray gave a small smile. We're not safe yet. They will come after us. Leora touched the glow under her skin, feeling it pulsing stronger now. Let them come, she said softly. I will not be chained again. Ray looked at her, seeing the fire in her silver eyes, and he knew she was stronger than she believed. Outside. The window, the stars were bright, and the darkness of space opened before them, waiting for the girl who was once chained, but now was free and ready to fight for her freedom. The stars outside the window were beautiful, but Leora could not relax. She sat in the corner of the small cargo ship, hugging her knees. Her silver eyes watched Ray as he pressed buttons and checked screens. Ray's face was serious. They will follow us, he said. Leora looked down, touching the glow under her skin. They always do. The ship's engine made a low hum and the lights flickered for a moment. They were flying through deep space now, leaving the dusty market planet far behind. But in the darkness, danger was waiting. Ray checked the scanner. 3 red dots appeared on the screen, moving fast toward them. They found us, he said. Leora's heart beat faster. How? Ray looked at her. The crystal under your skin. It is powerful, isn't it? Leora nodded slowly. Yes, it calls to them. They can feel it. Outside, in the dark space, 3 black ships came closer, like shadows, with red lights. They were bounty hunters, working for the merchants. Ray stood up, moving to a small locker. He pulled out a small blaster and handed it to Leora. I don't know how to use this, Leora said, scared. Ray looked into her eyes. You don't have to shoot them. Just point and press if they get too close. Leora held the blaster, her hands shaking. I don't want to hurt anyone. Ray paused. Sometimes to protect yourself you must fight back. The scanner beeped. The ships were getting closer. Suddenly, the ship shook as something hit them. A loud alarm screamed, and the lights turned red. They are firing at us, Ray shouted, running back to the controls. Leora fell to the floor as the ship turned sharply. She crawled to the window, seeing the black ships firing red lasers, trying to stop them. Can we run? Leora shouted. Ray pressed buttons quickly. The engines are damaged. We can't outrun them. Another laser hit the ship, making it shake again. Sparks flew from the ceiling, and smoke filled the air. Leora stood up, holding the blaster tightly. She felt fear, but she also felt something else inside her, a warm light. The same light that broke her chains. Ray, she said, her voice calm. They want me, not you. Ray turned and shouted, No, I'm not giving you to them. Leora took a deep breath, closing her eyes. She placed her hand on the wall, and the glow under her skin became brighter. Outside, one of the black ships moved closer, ready to dock. A loud clanging sound echoed as a metal tube connected to their door. They are coming inside, Ray said, aiming his blaster at the door. Leora stood beside him, her silver eyes glowing. The door opened with a loud hiss, and smoke filled the room. 2 alien bounty hunters stepped inside, holding electric spears. Give us the girl, one of them hissed. Ray fired his blaster, hitting the first hunter in the arm. The hunter screamed, dropping his spear. The second hunter rushed forward, pushing Ray to the ground. Leora screamed, pointing her blaster at the hunter, but her hands were shaking too much to shoot. The hunter raised his spear, ready to strike. Ray, no! Leora shouted. The glow under her skin became a bright blue light, filling the small ship with its glow. The hunter stopped, looking at her in shock. Leora raised her hand, and the light moved from her skin to the air, forming a small ball of energy. Boom! The energy exploded, pushing the hunter back into the wall. The spear dropped, and the hunter fell, unconscious. Ray stood up, breathing hard, looking at Leora with wide eyes. You did that? He whispered. Liora looked at her hands, shaking. I didn't mean to. Ray touched her shoulder. You saved me. Leora's eyes filled with tears, but she wiped them quickly. I don't want to hurt people. I just want to be free, Ray nodded. We will get you free, Leora, I promise. Outside, the other two black ships were still there, but they did not fire again. They were waiting. Leora felt the warm glow under her skin, stronger now. She felt a map in her mind, a place she needed to go, a place where the merchants could never find her again. Ray, she said softly, I know where we need to go. Ray looked at her, hope in his eyes. Where? Leora closed her eyes. Seeing the hidden planet, seeing the gate that could free her and many others like her. We need to go to the hidden world, she said, opening her glowing silver eyes. It's the only way to break the chains forever. Ray smiled, gripping her hand. Then let's get you there. Outside, the stars were waiting, and the hunt had begun. The small cargo ship floated quietly in the darkness of space. The engines were damaged, and smoke filled the control room. Sparks fell from broken wires, and the lights blinked weakly. Leora sat on the floor, her back against the cold metal wall. She hugged her knees, trying to calm her breathing. Her silver eyes were dim now, the glow under her skin softer. Ray was at the controls, pressing buttons and trying to restart the engines. His face was covered in sweat and dirt. They are still out there, Ray said, looking at the scanner. The bounty hunters are waiting. Leora looked at him, fear in her eyes. They won't stop, will they? Ray shook his head. No, they want you because of what you carry. Leora touched the glow under her collarbone. The crystal, she whispered. Ray nodded. We need to get out of here. Suddenly, the lights turned off and the ship became dark. Only the red emergency lights remained, blinking slowly. Thump, thump, they heard the sound of metal feet landing on the ship's roof. The noise echoed in the darkness. They are coming, Ray said, grabbing his blaster. Leora stood up, holding the small blaster in her shaking hands. The ship shook as something heavy landed on it. Then, a loud clang came from the door. It was being opened from the outside. Ray aimed his blaster at the door. Stay behind me, he whispered. The door opened slowly with a hiss, and smoke entered the room. Through this smoke, a tall shadow appeared. It was an alien warlord, bigger and stronger than the bounty hunters before. His armor was black and his eyes glowed red. Give me the girl, the warlord said in a deep, cold voice. Ray fired his blaster, but the warlord raised his arm, and a blue shield blocked the shot. You cannot stop me, human, the warlord said. The warlord stepped forward, and with one heavy swing, he knocked Ray to the side. Ray hit the wall and fell, groaning in pain. Leora screamed, pointing her blaster at the warlord, but he grabbed it and crushed it with his hand. The warlord grabbed Leora by the arm, lifting her into the air. His cold eyes looked into her glowing silver eyes. You belong to the merchants, the warlord said. Your power will serve them. Leora felt fear, but inside her, the warm light began to grow. She remembered the chains. She remembered the laughter of the merchants. She remembered the pain. No, Leora whispered, her eyes starting to glow brighter. The warlord tightened his grip. You have no choice. Leora closed her eyes, and the glow under her skin became a bright blue light, lighting up the dark ship. The warlord's eyes widened. What are you? Boom! A wave of blue energy exploded from Leora, pushing the warlord back. He hit the wall with a loud crash, dropping Leora to the floor. Leora fell to her knees, breathing hard. The blue light still glowing around her. The warlord stood up slowly, cracks in his black armor, his red eyes filled with anger. You will pay for this, he shouted, pulling out a large electric blade. Leora looked at Ray, who was slowly getting up, bleeding from his head. She saw fear in his eyes, but also trust. I won't let them take me, Leora said, standing up, her eyes glowing brighter. The warlord rushed forward, swinging his electric blade at her. Leora raised her hands, and the light formed a shield in front of her, blocking the attack. The warlord pushed harder, but Leora screamed, and the light pushed him back again. Ray shouted, "Leora, now!" Leora focused all her fear, pain, and hope into the light inside her. The glow became blinding, filling the room with blue light. Crack! The warlord's blade broke, and the energy pushed him into the air, slamming him against the ceiling. The armor cracked more, and he fell to the ground, unable to move. Leora fell to her knees, shaking, tears running down her face. The light faded, leaving the room dark again. Ray crawled to her, holding her hand. "You did it," he said, breathing hard. Leora looked at the warlord, who was lying on the ground, defeated. "I don't want to hurt people," she whispered. Ray nodded. "But you have to protect yourself, Leora." Outside the window, the other bounty hunter ships turned and left. They had seen the power inside Leora, and they were afraid. Ray held Leora close, letting her cry. "It's over for now," he said softly. Leora looked at him, her silver eyes tired but strong. "They will come again." Ray nodded. "Then we will fight again." In the darkness of space, the small ship floated, carrying a girl who once was chained, but now was learning to fight for her freedom. And somewhere in the distance, the hidden planet was waiting, calling to Leora to come and finish what she started. The small ship was silent, except for the soft hum of the failing engine. Sparks still fell from broken wires, but Leora no longer noticed them. She sat on the cold metal floor, looking at her hands. They were small, shaking, but she remembered how light had exploded from them. She remembered how the warlord's blade broke, how the chains had shattered. She had power, real power. Ray sat across from her, wrapping a bandage around his bleeding arm. His dark eyes watched her with worry and hope. "Leora," he said softly. "What you did back there, it saved us." Leora didn't look up. "I was scared," she whispered. "I didn't want to hurt him, but I didn't want to go back in chains." Ray nodded. "You don't have to go back. We will keep moving, keep fighting." Leora closed her eyes. Inside her, the blue glow was warm, like a small sun hidden in her chest. It pulsed with her heartbeat, reminding her it was there, waiting. Suddenly, the scanner beeped on the control panel, pulling them back to reality. Ray stood up quickly, checking the screen. "Ships are coming. 5 of them." Leora stood, fear in her eyes. "Bounty hunters?" Ray shook his head, his face darkening. "Worse, the merchants themselves." Outside, in the blackness of space, 5 large ships appeared, each with dark metal armor and red lights like watching eyes. They moved slowly, blocking the stars, surrounding Ray's small ship like wolves around a wounded deer. A deep voice came through the ship's radio, cold and strong. "This is Merchant Lord Koresh. Surrender the girl. She belongs to us." Leora felt her breath catch. The voice was the same as the one that commanded the guards who chained her. She could almost feel the heavy iron on her wrists again. "No," Leora whispered, stepping back. Ray looked at her, determination in his eyes. "We are not giving you to them." The voice on the radio spoke again, sharper. "You have 10 seconds. If you do not open your doors, we will take her by force." The ships outside began to glow as their weapons charged. Red lights turned brighter, and the hum of power filled the silent ship. Leora's eyes filled with tears. "They will destroy us." Ray grabbed her shoulders gently. "Leora, listen to me. You are not that chained girl anymore. You have the power to fight them." "I can't," she said, shaking her head. "I'm scared." Ray's voice was soft but strong. "Use your fear, use your pain. Don't let them take you again." The radio voice spoke one last time. "Time's up." Outside, the red lights turned into beams, firing toward Ray's small ship. Leora screamed, raising her hands without thinking. The glow under her skin became a bright, blinding blue light, filling the small ship. Outside, the beams of red energy hit a blue shield that formed around the ship, stopping them. The merchant's ships fired again, but the shield held, the blue light growing stronger with each attack. Inside the ship, Leora's eyes glowed like twin stars, tears running down her cheeks as she screamed, pushing her hands forward. Boom! A wave of blue energy exploded from the small ship, hitting the closest merchant ship. The metal of the merchant ship cracked, alarms rang, and lights flickered. The other ships turned, trying to avoid the energy, but it was too late. The blue light moved like a living storm, pushing them back, shaking them. Leora's feet lifted off the floor as the power flowed through her. Memories of chains, cold rooms, and screams filled her mind, mixing with the faces of the laughing merchants. No. More! Leora shouted, her voice echoing in the blue light. Outside, one of the merchant ships exploded, breaking into pieces as the blue energy swallowed it. Ray watched with wide eyes, shielding himself from the brightness. Leora, you're doing it. Leora closed her eyes, focusing the energy, turning it into a controlled wave. She pushed it outward, not to kill, but to send a message. The remaining merchant ship's engines died, and their weapons shut down. They floated, powerless, in the darkness of space. The blue light slowly faded, leaving only the cold darkness of space and the soft hum inside the ship. Leora fell to her knees, breathing hard, sweat dripping from her forehead. Ray ran to her, holding her before she fell completely. "You did it," he said, tears in his eyes. Leora looked up, her silver eyes tired but filled with a quiet fire. "They will come again," Ray nodded, smiling softly, "and you will be ready." Outside the window, the stars returned, shining brightly as the merchant ships floated, defeated. For the first time, Leora felt her chains were truly gone, not just broken, but gone forever. And deep in her mind, the map appeared again, glowing softly, showing her the hidden planet. The place she needed to go. She had power now, and she would use it to free others, to break every chain, across every world. Asterisk. The stars outside the window were quiet again. The merchant ships floated, powerless, their lights flickering in the darkness of space. Inside the small ship, Leora sat on the floor, her back against the wall, breathing hard. Her silver eyes were half closed, tired after using so much power. She felt empty but light, like a heavy chain had finally fallen from her heart. Ray was at the control panel, looking at the screens. His face was dirty, his clothes torn, but his eyes had hope. "You did it, Leora," he said softly. "You stopped them." Leora shook her head, her voice weak. "They will come back with more ships, more weapons." Ray knelt in front of her. "Then we will keep running." Leora opened her eyes and looked at him, something glowing softly under her skin. "No," she whispered. "We can't keep running forever." Ray frowned. "What do you mean?" Leora closed her eyes, and the glow under her skin became brighter. A small blue light floated up from her collarbone, rising into the air. It grew, forming lines and shapes, turning into a map made of blue light. Ray stepped back, watching the glowing map with wide eyes. "What is this?" he asked. Leora opened her eyes, silver and shining. "This is where we need to go." The map showed a hidden planet far away, surrounded by a ring of broken moons. In the center of the planet, a bright blue light pulsed like a heart. Ray studied the map. "What is on this planet?" Leora touched the glowing light on the map, and images appeared: shackles breaking, chains falling, people cheering. "It is a gate," Leora said softly. "My mother told me stories before they took her away. The gate can break all chains, free all who are held by the merchants, and stop their control." Ray looked at her, hope and fear mixing in his eyes. That's why they want you. Leora nodded. The crystal in me is connected to the gate. They cannot use it without me. Ray clenched his fists. Then we have to get you there before they find us again. Suddenly, the radio crackled with static. A weak, tired voice came through. Help, please, they're coming. Ray and Leora looked at each other. Ray moved quickly to the radio. Who is this? The voice was small, a young boy. My name is Kiri, I escaped. They're hunting me, please. Leora's eyes widened. He's like me. Ray nodded, switching on the scanner. Small escape pod was drifting nearby, lights blinking weakly, moving slowly through space. They will catch him, Leora said, standing up despite her weakness. Ray looked at her. Then let's get him first. He moved to the controls, guiding their ship toward the escape pod. Outside, the stars moved as the small ship approached the pod. As they got closer, Leora could see through the window of the pod a small boy with glowing blue eyes, hugging himself, scared and alone. The pod shook as the merchant ships in the distance powered up again, their lights returning. They are coming. Ray shouted. Leora placed her hand on the window, the glow under her skin pulsing in response to the boy's glow. It's okay, Kiri, she whispered. You are not alone anymore. Ray opened the pod hatch, pulling the small boy into the ship just as red lasers flew past, shaking the walls. Kiri clung to Leora, tears in his glowing blue eyes. They took my mother, he cried. They hurt us. Leora hugged him tightly. I know. They hurt me too. But we will stop them. Ray fired the engines, turning the ship toward the hidden planet on the map. Hold on, he shouted. The small ship flew fast, weaving between the laser blasts from the merchant ships. The stars turned into lines as Ray pushed the engines to their limit. Leora held Kiri's hand, her eyes glowing, the blue map still floating in front of them. We are going to the gate, Leora told him softly. We will break every chain. Kiri looked up at her, hope shining through his tears. Really? Leora smiled, a small but strong smile. Really? Outside, the merchant ships chased them, but the small ship was faster. Driven by hope and the fire of freedom. As they entered the darkness of hyperspace, the map glowed brighter, guiding them to the hidden world where the final fight would begin. And in that moment, Leora knew this was not just her fight anymore. It was a fight for every child, every person who had ever been chained by the merchants. The gate was waiting, and she would not stop until every chain in the galaxy was broken. The stars outside turned into swirling colors as the small ship flew through hyperspace. Leora sat beside Kiri, holding his small hand, while Ray adjusted the controls, sweat dripping down his face. They were close now. The glowing map hovered in front of them, showing the hidden planet surrounded by broken moons. In the center, a blue light pulsed like a heart, calling to Leora, "We're here," Ray said softly as the stars slowed and the darkness of space returned. Outside the window, the hidden planet floated in the blackness, covered in blue and white. Clouds with rings of shattered stone circling it. Deep in its core, the gate was waiting. Kiri's small hand squeezed Leora's. "Will it really free us?" he asked, his glowing eyes filled with hope. Leora looked down at him and nodded. "Yes, we will free everyone." Suddenly, alarms screamed inside the ship. Ray looked at the scanner, his jaw tightening. They found us. Outside, merchant warships appeared, blocking their path. Their dark metal bodies glowed with red lights, weapons ready. Hundreds of smaller fighter ships swarmed around them like dark insects. Hundreds of smaller fighter ships swarmed around them like dark insects. Cold voice came through the radio. "This is Merchant Lord Koresh. You cannot run anymore. Give us the girl, and we will spare the child and the human." Kiri hid behind Leora, shaking. "Don't let them take me back." Leora stood up, her silver eyes glowing softly. her fear turning into quiet strength. "No," she said into the radio, her voice calm. "No more chains." Ray looked at her. "Are you ready?" Leora nodded, stepping forward, placing her hand on the window, facing the merchant fleet. Outside, the merchant ships fired their weapons, red beams racing toward the small ship. "Leora!" Ray shouted. Liora closed her eyes, letting the warm blue light inside her rise, filling her chest, flowing into her arms, down to her fingers. The light exploded outward, forming a shield around the ship. The red beams hit the blue shield, breaking apart, falling like sparks into space. Kiri's eyes widened. "You're doing it!" Leora opened her eyes, now shining like twin stars, tears falling down her cheeks. "No more chains," she whispered again. She raised her hands, and the blue light grew brighter, forming waves that moved outward, pushing the merchant ships back. The merchant fighters tried to fire again, but their weapons turned off. Their engines shut down, leaving them floating in the darkness. Ray's eyes filled with tears as he watched. "You're winning, Leora." Leora felt the map in her mind pulling her toward the planet. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes, letting the light guide them. The ship moved through the silent fleet, down toward the hidden planet, breaking through the clouds, flying over green valleys and blue oceans. In the distance, on a high mountain, stood the gate, a giant arch made of glowing blue crystal, humming softly. Waiting. Ray landed the ship near the gate, the ground shaking under its soft blue glow. Leora stepped outside, the wind touching her face, the sunlight warm on her skin. Kiri held her hand tightly, looking up at the gate with wide eyes. "What do we do now?" Kiri asked. Leora smiled softly. "We finish it." She walked toward the gate, feeling the crystal inside her responding, glowing brighter with each step. Behind them, the merchant ship started landing, soldiers running toward them with weapons, shouting orders. Ray pulled out his blaster, standing in front of Kiri. "Stay behind me." Leora turned, looking at the soldiers, her eyes filled with calm fire. "No more chains," she said, her voice echoing across the valley. She raised her hands, and the blue light exploded outward, forming a wave that moved across the field, knocking the soldiers back, breaking their weapons, turning their metal chains into dust. The gate pulsed with light, responding to Leora's power, sending blue beams into the sky. All across the galaxy, in dark prisons, in slave markets, in hidden rooms, where children cried, the chains broke. Shackles turned to dust. Collars fell to the ground. People looked at their free hands with tears and hope. Kiri looked at his wrists, seeing the scars left by chains, and then looked up at Leora. "You did it." Leora's tears fell as she smiled, looking at the glowing gate. "We did it." Ray walked to them, putting his hand on Leora's shoulder. "It's over." Leora shook her head gently. "No, Ray, it's just the beginning." She looked up at the sky, at the stars that now belonged to everyone, not just the merchants. She had been chained, broken, and afraid, but now she was free, and she would help free others, world by world, until no one in the galaxy would ever wear chains again. The gate glowed behind her, a promise of freedom for all who were still waiting. And so the girl who once begged to be claimed became the one who claimed freedom for all.